welcome to the Passenger Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca, and today I'm going to be telling you all about what we got up to as we travelled north for the Singer National Weekend with the Singer Owners Club. And there'll be a couple of podcasts that have come out of this weekend because I had the opportunity to record quite a few interviews with people, capture some of their stories and share some of their experiences with the Singer Owner Club, with Singer ownership, and also a kind of whistle-stop tour of the history of the Singer Roadster with Ashley Crossland. So you've got some good podcasts to look forward to there in the coming weeks. But for us, it's always a little bit of a pilgrimage to get there. Last year it was over in Cheshire, and this year it was up in County Durham, in the kind of Darlington area. The majority of people were staying at Blackwell Grange Hotel, but we were kind of staying in an Airbnb not too far from there. It was only kind of 5 miles or so away down the road. Just made more sense with the fact that me and Jamie were going up, Mum and Dad were going up, and my sister and her fiance were going up. So it kind of made a little bit more sense that way, in terms of us all kind of being together and sharing a space and helping each other out with all the bits and bobs that we had to do, because we will end up with quite a few little jobs on these sorts of weekends. For us, it was going to be a pretty decent trip up the A1, and we took the Friday off and headed up. Some people had gone up kind of during the week because there is stuff that happens on the Friday at these weekends, but with my mum's work being in a school and with kind of us saving some annual leave for moving house, we decided to just take the Friday off and slowly make our way up. We ended up with a bit of a slower start than we had initially intended. We were going up in Jaffa. Initially, we were going to go up with me driving my dad's Singer Chamois, Jamie driving Jaffa the Reliant Scimitar, my parents trailering up Emma the 1931 Singer Junior, and my sister driving up her little Hillman Californian. But we weren't too sure about the kind of car parking space, and also with it being kind of so hot, having all these extra cars to worry about, saving ourselves one car to worry about seemed like not too bad of an idea. So we ended up leaving Lulu the Singer Chamois at home. It might seem like a strange decision to have made given that it was a Singer weekend, but Jaffa has quite a bit more space in him, and we do have to take a lot of bits and bobs to each day of these events, because my dad is in charge of the trophies and awards, and I obviously have all of my recording and photographing and all that sort of gear as well, and then obviously our clothes and all of these bits and bobs. And so we ended up deciding to take Jaffa. Also, Jaffa was due a trip really. Peggy had the trip solo over to Ireland, and so it was Jaffa's turn to have a solo trip with both of us in, trying to keep things fair. And so we were going in Jaffa, but Jaffa decided he wasn't that keen on actually starting, and it took a bit of trial and error and a few things to work out what it was. We were doing compression checks, we were doing spark checks, and in the end we think it's because he's got a ballasted coil, I think. It's the one where it gives 12 volts when it starts and then drops down to 6 volts, and we think it was giving the 12 volts to start but then just not giving any volts after that point. So Jamie fiddled around with the wiring and managed to get it back working and happy, and it didn't mean that for the rest of the weekend we weren't a little bit anxious every time we went to start the car that it wasn't going to start, but Jaffa behaved himself. I think he was just a little bit nervous about having his first big trip with the both of us in the car. So in the end, we set off from ours at about 9 o'clock-ish, and we had planned to meet up with my parents at a new-ish roadside cafe that had opened just north of Stamford on the A1 in the old Ram Jam services. So there used to be a Ram Jam there, that got closed down and then also knocked down, and they built some new kind of service stops there. So there's the petrol station out the front, and out the back there's a Wendy's and a Brightside. Now Brightside, I think there's only 4 of them in the country, and I think one of them is there and the rest are all kind of over in the west. And I'd seen lots of pictures of it online, and as you guys know, I'm big into my service stations, big into my service stops, and I'd seen how cool this one looked, and I was like, I really want to make a stop here. And this was our first opportunity with heading north. It's not actually that far for us to go, even if it was just a little dinner out, but it does seem a little bit strange to go to a service station as a dinner out, at least in the first instance. Having been there now, can definitely recommend making a special trip just to go, because the food is amazing, the decor is amazing, the like little memorabilia and stuff that you can buy, the merch is pretty cool as well. So we met my parents there. We were a little bit later, but we still managed to have a breakfast before we hit the road. My parents had a lovely milkshake that my mum would highly recommend, and some tea cakes, toasted tea cakes. And yeah, it was really nice. The staff there were lovely. I got myself a very cool t-shirt that has the Brightside logo on the front, and on the back says Travel Happy, which I indeed did for the weekend, because it was very comfortable in the passenger seat of Jaffa. Quite warm on the Friday as we drove up. We had to cover kind of about 200 miles of the A1, heading up kind of almost as far as Scotch Corner, but turning off a little bit before then to make a stop at a little garden centre for a bit of something nicer as a stop to cool off and regroup before we headed to our Airbnb. But even though there was kind of some pretty standstill traffic, even though there was quite some heat on, Jaffa performed brilliantly, and we had in the rear view mirror my parents in their camper van trailering Emma up, and yeah, we had a pretty decent run of it. I think it took us just about 3.5 hours, which isn't too bad really, and got ourselves to the Airbnb, got the cars all unloaded and sorted, and then headed over to Blackwell Grange for the club's AGM, which they host on the Friday night, because it's obviously a lot of members already have made the trip, so it means that they get quite a lot of membership coming along to the AGM because they're there anyway. And then we had a chat and catch up with a few people. My dad was able to collect a few trophies that people were handing back, ready to be handed back out again the following day. Headed out for some dinner at a lovely little pub that we found, and then it was back to our Airbnb to kind of get ready for the evening and relax and get ready for the weekend really, because it was going to be quite a busy one. My sister was arriving the following day because she'd been visiting some friends over in Yorkshire, so it had just been the 4 of us there that night, and she was meeting us at our first stop on the Saturday. My parents had gone along to the hotel in the morning to make the trip with the rest of the club, and me and Jamie had gone straight on to our first stop, which was the Bose Museum. I've been doing some work with the club for their social media and stuff, and so I decided to get there first so that I could get some nice photos of people arriving, some footage of people arriving, and also just kind of be able to catch everyone as they came in. So we got there, got parked up, and it's an incredibly impressive building. It's not something at all that you'd expect to see just kind of on the edge of Barnard Castle as a little town kind of thing. Absolutely beautiful. We were quite surprised as we pulled up and got ourselves parked up, and then decided to set up the cameras and stuff, got chatting to the lovely volunteers there that were helping get all the cars parked, and yeah, we had a little wait, and then the cars gradually started pouring in, and I was kind of a little bit surprised about some of the first arrivals. I mean, it makes sense that maybe the Roadsters would be some of the quicker ones, and there was a reasonably early chamois as well that got there quite quickly, but then my dad managed to get there pretty quick, and I would say he was probably among the slowest cars on the weekend, but he managed to get there pretty quickly, and yeah, they just gradually all started pouring in and getting themselves all nicely parked up in front of the house. Which was always designed to be a museum. It was never designed to be anything else. It was built with the specific purpose of being a museum that the public could go round and look at all of these kind of features and collections and stuff that Josephine Bose had done so much work collecting during her life. And unfortunately, neither of the two people that had dreamt up this idea, funded it, worked towards collecting it, actually saw it open, because the construction of the building obviously took such a long time because it was such a massive and impressive building. But it is a very beautiful testament to them, and there was lots of really cool and interesting stuff. And perhaps the most well-known thing is the Silver Swan automatron that is up in the art galleries, and it goes off at 2 o'clock every day, and on school holidays and bank holidays, I think it is, they do an extra one another time as well, and they wind it up, and then it does the kind of moving round and bending and eating the fish and stuff like that. It was kind of a little bit anticlimactic in that it didn't go on for us, think, as long as people think it does. But what was really good was the guy that was explaining the history of it, and the fact that it's a 250-year-old automaton, and that nobody really knows who commissioned it, and because the person who commissioned it never actually came and paid and bought it, it bankrupted the silversmith that had done all of the work on creating the body. And it was also fascinating to hear that in the past it used to be that it had a coin slot, and that would set it off. So it was going kind of so much during the 60s and 70s because of this coin slot that was put in. And then when the guy that was speaking, who was maybe kind of about 30, had been when he was a kid, they had wound it up and set it off kind of on the hour, every hour. But during COVID, the lack of use and the lack of maintenance had caused it to seize, and so they'd had to spend quite a lot of money and time doing a load of repairs and restoration work to it. So it was something that they were being a little bit more delicate with, for sure now, and trying to look out for and make sure that it was going to last another 250 years. And yeah, quite a fascinating story, and I do love the kind of fascination that humans have with like creating these automatons and things. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on that sort of thing, and so it was very cool to see, but perhaps not as long as I think some people thought it was going to go on for, especially given how early some people had sat down to watch it and stuff. But very, very cool nonetheless. And we then kind of finished our walk round, saw some very beautiful clothing collections and stuff like that, and interestingly whole panels and stuff that had been collected from other houses and things that had been restored or had gone into disrepair and needed preserving. So a really interesting place, and the idea that it was always intended to be this museum was quite an interesting thing. We then got to kind of watch a lot of people leaving, rearrange our 3 cars into making a pretty cool photo, and then were able to head back to the hotel where the club was hosting their gala dinner and awards that evening, and help with the kind of setting up of the trophies and kind of surrounding display of that, before we headed off to have our dinner and then came back to hand out the awards. And so my dad's got a real smooth system of kind of putting all the trophies out in the right way, and then handing those all out, and then my sister ends up kind of being in charge of handing over the little medal that people get to keep once they hand their trophy back the following year, and a pillowcase that they can keep the trophy in for transport, and keeps it kind of safe from getting damaged and things like that. So pretty smooth system after a year of doing it. And the Saturday night trophies are for the people, which I think is a really nice thing to recognise with car clubs, because they would not be where they are without the people that give up their time and their experience and their knowledge, who do things to make sure that the cars are recognised and are able to keep on the road and keep in the public consciousness, especially with something like Singer, where it's 150 years this year since they started manufacturing vehicles, obviously starting with bicycles as so many did, but it's also been 50-60 years now since they were a regular sight on car forecourts and stuff like that. It's not a brand name that kind of saw itself to the end of the 20th century. It kind of, unfortunately, thanks to Chrysler, was put by the way in the early 1970s, like 1960s. And so keeping that name going is so important, and the people are so important to doing that. So on the Saturday night they have awards that are given in recognition to the people that have done all of these sorts of things, and they have awards for kind of visibly using your vehicle as much as possible. They have awards for creating a digital presence for the club. They have awards for working to keep the club going, volunteering time, long service to the club, all sorts of things like that. And they also have one that recognises the fact that a lot of the time families end up being kind of heavily involved. It might well be the mum or the dad that buys the car and starts enjoying the club, and then perhaps volunteers their time as part of the committee or whatever. But quite often when that happens, their partners, their children or whatever end up helping out, doing bits and bobs here and there, and being involved as well. And it was quite a surprise to myself and my sister, and our partners. I'm not sure if it was a surprise to my mum. I think she kind of knew, and obviously being the awards secretary, my dad knew. But this year, the Treston family won the Peter Kempston Award for family contributions to the club, for all of the bits and bobs that we end up kind of doing and trying to help out with, which was very lovely. And I'm hoping we end up with a nice little photo of us at some point with the trophy, because Dad handing out the awards and all of that, we didn't actually end up with a photo of all of us with the trophy. But it's quite nice, and also you get to kind of look down the list on these trophies of all the people that have earned it previously, and it's quite a nice thing to kind of look at all the names that have come before and go, oh yes, I remember kind of all of their contributions as well. So a very nice surprise indeed, and a lovely way to end up our first day of kind of official all-day Singer National Week ending. On the Sunday, we were having kind of our show and shine day at Raby Castle, which is kind of just beyond Barnard Castle, and we had a pretty lovely run over there, and we had to get there quite early because there was quite strict rules about car movement and stuff like that, because of members of the public being around. But it is always nice when there are members of the public around when you're displaying your cars at these sorts of things, because it hopefully sparks an interest in maybe one or two of them in what's going on and what the cars are all about. We started off our day with, as soon as possible, going round the castle, because I know that as soon as I start going around the cars, trying to get photos, trying to get interviews and stuff like that, I will forget and run out of time to go round the actual thing that we are there at. So Jamie insisted that we immediately went round, and it was well worth going round. An absolutely stunning location. You don't see as much as it as I thought you would, but the rooms that you do get to see are absolutely beautiful. In particular, the Octagon room, which is an addition later to the castle, but really stunning, and affectionately known as the Wow room, because you do walk in and go, wow, and it's exactly what I did. But we had a lovely walk around the castle before heading out and starting to kind of take some photos, get some reels, get some footage of all of the cars that were on display. The cars on this day are all parked up in their kind of categories, so they're makes and models, and then there is the all-important job of judging that happens between 1 and 2 o'clock, and then there is also a master's class for both the Singer cars and the kind of Roots cars. So lots of things to do, and the master's class is always judged by the non-Singer owners who are there. So last year, when we had the young members and some of the Women Drivers Social Club there, they were all involved in it, and this year, obviously my sister being there in her Hillman Californian, and Jamie being there in Jaffa, they were able to go out and vote on the master's class for the singers and non-singers, as well as their own class, and then the other classes are all voted for by their own classes as well. So it's quite a chilled and relaxed way of voting, I feel. You go around, you kind of put your bit of answers on the paper, and then you hand them in, and it's all kind of counted. And then later in the afternoon, someone comes round and puts little signs on the cars to say who got first in class, who got second in class, and then they go all and kind of drive round and get to do a little parade of honour through the people that are all gathered round to collect their trophy, collect their pillowcase, and collect their little medallion. And I was busy doing interviews all afternoon, talking to some brilliant people, and I'm so excited to share these with you because it's so nice to capture people's experiences of having been members of the club for quite a long time, and their experiences of owning their cars and the memories that they've managed to capture along the way with the cars. And I came back and saw that my sister was driving Emma, which often means that Emma has won a prize, because my dad can't drive Emma and hand out the prizes. So my sister has kind of taken on the role of driving Emma to collect her prize. So I was like, what a jammy, she's won again, so she'll be lining up and parking up, and go over to Jamie to say, oh, Steph's won again, I see. How did everyone in this class kind of do? To find that he'd got a first in class on Jaffa, so he was also getting prepared for going and parking up, and because of the order that the classes are all in, Jamie was the first car to come round in the procession of cars that were winning awards, which was quite fun. And he collected his award and his trophy, and then it was the rest of the cars and lots of lovely deserving winners. It's always nice to see kind of new cars sometimes coming in and winning awards, as well as obviously the Masters class showing people the kind of best of the best, according to people that perhaps don't know the ins and outs of the Singers, but it's a car that they'd really like to go home in. There's also awards for furthest travelled when it's driven, the chairman's choice, which was actually decided on by the sponsors of the event, and yeah, lots of lovely awards and trophies. And I do think it's nice that when people have made the effort to bring their cars and display their cars and be part of the weekend, that there's an element of them being kind of rewarded and recognised for that with their trophies. And then it was time to kind of start wrapping up. So having won the award for a helpful family to the club, we did feel that we had to help with the gazebo dismantling and stuff like that before we headed home. Got a lovely picture of Jamie and Jaffa outside the castle before we started our trip home. Obviously not before stopping at Scotch Corner Services. As not great as they are somewhere that I feel quite fondly about, and so we stopped there to kind of get ourselves drinks and a little snack for the trip home, and then had a reasonably easy trip home. I mean, I had it very easy. I was in the passenger seat of a very comfortable car, having a bit of a snooze for some of it, which is a bit of a novelty, because it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to kind of passenger seat home from a long distance car event. But Jaffa performed brilliantly, even though he'd had that little stumble at the start of the weekend. And all in all, a lovely weekend with so many friends and catching up with so many people, and just a lot of brilliant cars all round. Now, if you are interested in Singers and the Singer Owners Club, their membership is very reasonably priced. I think it's just around £30ish, I think it is, maybe 29. But also, what I do want to point out is that if you or someone that you know is under 25 and you want to get them into pre-war cars, their membership for people under 25 is just £10, and you get the magazines and everything as part of that, and it's a fantastic deal, and it means that they can kind of start reading about it, and there's some really fantastic articles in the club magazine from the registrars and the members and stuff like that, There was a brilliant one recently from Ashley Crossland about the Ards TT that kind of famously spelled the end of singers competing in the kind of races of the 30s and pre-war period, which I particularly enjoyed. And so there's lots of really good articles in there that make you start thinking about these cars in a great way. So it's well worth either the 29, I think it is, or the £10, whatever you're eligible for, to get a great magazine and learn some more about a car that perhaps you don't know lots about. And if you do become a member, then next year's National Weekend has officially been announced as being in kind of the Milton Keynes and Bedfordshire area. And so lots of exciting stuff that they can be doing down there. And I'm hopefully looking forward to another fantastic weekend with them down there. And so that wraps up my kind of show report of the Singer National Weekend. Like I said, keep your eyes peeled for when the interviews come out, because they're going to be pretty well worth listening to. And in the meantime, thank you ever so much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring.